TM Stani 23 says, thank you, says, in Rules for Radicals, one of the tactics is make the enemy live up to his own book of rules, but not follow them yourselves. Hence, by all means, yeah, that's the Saul. He's referring to Saul Alinsky's
Oh,
Rules for Radicals. If you haven't read it, and in fact, I think Hillary Clinton did a paper on this in college. It might have been her PhD thing, but I know she wrote about this. He was pretty influential. If that gives you any idea about where she's coming from, but yeah, they're pretty clear about their I won't say amoral. They're immoral, but they're amoral tactics in a sense that they don't care about hypocrisy, living up to their own standards, and they've thought through how to really do some of this intellectual warfare or
what's
emotional warfare.
interesting about that, if you guys, again, yeah, if you haven't read Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals, you should, because what's interesting about it is once you start diving into this stuff, it's amazing to see how much of it is out there publicly available. They're not ashamed of it. They write it down. They tell you, we are going to be hypocrites. It is good to be a hypocrite. This is how you win, is to be a hypocrite. That's what that
Yeah.
rule is about. And students for SDS, students for Democratic Society, if you go back and look at some of their stuff from the 60s and 70s, I think it was 60s and 70s, they were very open. They had a list of goals. And one of those goals was for the Marxists to infiltrate every field of expertise, to infiltrate academia, the media, journalism, entertainment, healthcare. They've done that. But they're open about it. It's funny when you talk about this stuff to someone who is an NPC, who's not a deep thinker, who's just a programmed puppet, and they're not familiar. It's almost like you're following this rule book that you've never even read. Doesn't that make you feel stupid and used and not a person with agency?
Yeah.
Wake up.
I, it's tough. It's tough to watch because they've just for decades they've just said openly what they're going to do, and anyone who bothers to say, "Look what they're saying," gets dismissed. Is like, "Oh, they're not going
Yeah.
to. That's just intellectual talk. They're not going to." I'm like, no,
Yeah,
they're doing. What are you talking about? Like,
they'll even say, so a lot of the people, when I was a social justice warrior, if you had told me that I was a Marxist, that I was following a kind of Marxism that had mutated and was based around identity and power rather than around class and wealth, I would have said, oh, it's conspiracy. Marxism. I'm not a Marxist. I'm not even familiar with Marxism. Yeah, because you're a non-thinking robot. You're a puppet for this ideology. You don't even know the background, the roots of your belief system.
if you're
But
alive in America today and you're not familiar with Marxism, you're probably a Marxist.
yeah, you're probably a Marxist, and you're blind. Like, go read about it and then look at Marxism and sit down and write out what are the actual tenets of this belief system I'm in, and do they match up?
Yeah.
Try an exercise in thinking for once.